As Shanks has recently said himself, the reunion of him and Luffy is coming soon, and what was once a wholesome anticipated reunion has become way deeper than that now that we know what we know in the manga. So today we're going to be breaking down Shanks' true motivations and whether or not he's the real guy we think he is. Is he actually evil? Is he actually trying to keep the balance in the world? Or is he just chilling and trying to be a pirate? We're going to figure that out today. But first off, as always, make sure you subscribe and join our King Pirates crew. If you have a good time watching this video, please drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. And also thank you to Ren for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so today's topic is Shanks' motivations, which has been a pretty hot debate recently. Obviously, that's because all of this new information about Luffy's devil fruit. So I wanted to do a deep dive on this because if you watch my videos, you know that one of the things that I'm strongly against is the idea of evil Shanks. But instead of just bringing up my counter arguments as I have before, I want to try to answer the question of what Shanks is really after. Because while I absolutely believe that Shanks is not evil, his current motivations are a little unclear. So to break things down, let's talk about the story of Shanks, which is a pretty unique one because unlike someone like Dragon or Mihawk, where their story is a complete mystery, the story of Shanks, we actually have a pretty basic outline of how his life has gone, and we've even seen some very specific moments in his life, like when he met Luffy. But at the same time, there's still some major blanks in his story, like his origin story, and also there's the large gaps between when he became a pirate and became a Yonko. So because of that, there's still some uncertainties on what motivates him and what his goals are. But at the same time, there are some concrete things in Shanks' story that establish what type of person he is. So to break this down, we're gonna start at the beginning of Shanks' story, which is his time on the Roger Pirates. But before we get into that, I want to let you guys know how you can make a difference in the climate crisis with Ren. You see, one of the biggest reasons that I love One Piece is all the underlining themes that Oda has in the story that correlates with real life. For example, currently in Wano, people are living in terrible conditions that includes drought, pollution, and lack of clean water. And those are things that are reflected in real life, especially as the climate crisis continues to get worse. Which is why I'm genuinely so excited to introduce you guys to the sponsor of this video, Ren, a company that is dedicated to helping against the climate crisis. With Ren, you can calculate your carbon footprint and learn how to reduce it by answering some questions on their website. And to further help the cause, you can offset your carbon footprint by funding a diverse mix of carbon reduction projects like tree planting, mineral weathering, and rainforest protection. Once you sign up to make a monthly contribution, you receive updates on the projects you're supporting, and you get to see exactly where your money is spent with photos and details on every tree planted, every acre reforested, and every ton of carbon offset. And as far as projects go, there's a variety of great ones that Ren is currently partaking in. For example, there's currently a project in California where I've personally been before. It's called Biochar in California, and with this project, Ren is working to prevent wildfires by removing dead flammable wood, which they then turn into biochar, a stable form of carbon that lasts for thousands of years. So not only is this working to prevent devastating wildfires we've seen in California recently, but it also stores up lots of carbon for thousands of years. As some of you know, I recently finally moved out and began living by myself with my girlfriend, and since then I've been doing a lot more to try to lower my carbon footprint because I'm in control of everything. I've been recycling more, using reusable bags, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. It's gonna take a lot more to end the climate crisis, but you can start helping today by learning more on ren.co. So go offset your carbon footprint by using your link in the description, and the first 100 people to sign up will get 10 extra trees planted in their name. So go check out Ren with the link in the description, and now back to the video. So back on the topic of Shanks on the Roger Pirates, I think this is a really critical part of his story, because although we still don't know Shanks' origin story, which could still play a big part relating to his lineage and other theories, Shanks' time on the Roger Pirates still played a major role in shaping him into the person that he is and the goals that he might have, because he became an apprentice on the ship as early as age 9 and perhaps even younger, and he was with that crew until it disbanded when he was 14 years old. While he was on the crew, he was an apprentice, so his role was literally to learn from people. So just the fact that he was an apprentice on that ship for such a long period of time as he's growing up, he's definitely gonna learn a lot and be shaped by the Roger Pirates, which we saw firsthand. Throughout his adventures with the Roger Pirates, he really fit their culture. He established strong relationships across the board, ones that he still values today. For example, someone like Buggy he still views in good terms, and even Rayleigh he sees as a friend and a mentor. And that's really an important thing to note because it shows that to this day he still values those relationships. And what makes this even more important is that the strongest relationship that Shanks might have established was with Roger, because as early as age 9, Shanks already had Roger's straw hat, establishing that strong connection. Roger of course was also the captain, so the crew followed his style and leadership, which Shanks absolutely took after, because not only have we seen Shanks talk about dreams that are similar to Roger while he was on the Roger Pirates, like how he wanted to form his own crew, or one one day go to Laugh Tale himself, but we also see currently how similar Shanks' crew is to the Roger Pirates. And these are things that we see in the first chapter, not only with the emphasis on freedom and exploration, but we also saw the loyalty of the red hair pirates, which showed Shanks' serious side when he had Lucky Roo kill the bandits that were threatening his crew and Luffy, which is another thing that was clearly influenced by the Roger Pirates, because one of Roger's defining traits is that he never ran away from any battles and did everything to protect his crew. So I think with all that said, it's evident that to this day, Shanks is heavily influenced by the things that he learned on the Roger Pirates, the way he carries himself, the way he acts as a captain, the relationships he's maintained. All of those things show that Shanks still values the things he learned as a Roger Pirate apprentice, which I do think plays a factor in what his goals are, because it probably aligns in the same beliefs as the Roger Pirates. At the same time though, we have to acknowledge that since becoming a captain himself, Shanks' path has definitely not been the same as Roger, because although the crew has a similar style to the Roger Pirates with their culture and the way Shanks leads, Shanks personally definitely doesn't seem to have the same ambition that Roger did, or at least not currently. And this is where I think Shanks' motivations gets a little confusing, because looking at how heavily influenced by Roger he is to this day, and the statements he made earlier when he was younger about wanting to go to Laugh Tale one day himself, you would almost assume that Shanks was pretty much the same type of person as Roger and had the same goals, and he could have been the next Roger himself if he wanted to, which Roger might have even seen and given him the straw hat because of that. But ultimately, Shanks ended up passing Roger's straw hat to Luffy, which, as he told Whitebeard, he did it to bet on the next generation. So seemingly he's given up on the dream of becoming Pirate King and just passed that on to Luffy. And as far as the reason of why he did that, I think there's a couple of possibilities. And honestly, I think one idea that's very likely is that Shanks just did not have the same ambition in the first place, because although we know that Shanks was very connected to Roger and he was similar to Luffy as a kid, it's entirely possible that Shanks wanted to become a captain and explore the seas, but just didn't feel the need to see the end of the world like Roger and Luffy does. And whatever that grand dream is that Luffy and Roger both have, maybe Shanks just doesn't have that. So when he ended up meeting Luffy and saw firsthand that Luffy had the same dream as Roger, he might have realized that Luffy was the guy to carry on Roger's will, so he gave him the hat and passed on Roger's will. Now of course that's just speculation from me, but I do think something like this is more likely the case. Another option could be that Shanks did originally have the same dream, but for some reason he ended up changing his mind, like maybe Roger found something out on Laugh Tale and told him that Shanks' fate did not align, and that could have been the reason Shanks was crying after that, or it could have been an entirely different reason why he ended up changing his mind and having different goals. But one way or another, my best bet is that Shanks still has the same values as Roger and the Roger Pirates, but he realized that Luffy was that guy because he's the one that has the same ambition as Roger. Which gets us to the Luffy and Shanks meeting, which is much deeper than we originally thought, because now we know the Gomu Gomu no Mi is actually a mythical Zoan that Shanks stole from the world government. And although this has not been confirmed yet, I think it's very likely that Shanks knew to some degree how important that fruit was, because I don't see another reason why he would just steal that fruit from the world government for no reason. So I think most likely, at least to some degree, he knew the importance of the fruit. Now as far as how he ended up finding out, that I have no idea. I'm not even gonna try to guess, but instead the important thing I want to focus on is why he got that devil fruit, because this is one of the parts that connects to the evil Shanks theory, which I really want to debunk here, because I think when you look at why Shanks went after that devil fruit, there's not gonna be a bad reason for it. First off, he literally took it from the world government, so that alone you're already taking away from bad people, so that's already a good deed. So after that, really the worst things you can do is use that devil fruit for your own gain for bad reasons, or give it to somebody else that's bad, and I think both of those scenarios are pretty much impossible. First off, as far as Shanks using it himself, he absolutely does not have a devil fruit and is against using one. That's pretty much established from chapter 1, because one of the first things he says to Luffy is, how can you be a pirate if you can't swim? So obviously if he values swimming, he's not gonna eat a devil fruit, which I think means that him along with the rest of his crew all do not have devil fruits. And on top of that, even if he were to go against that and actually eat the fruit, the worst thing he could probably use it for is for conquest or something like that, which we know is absolutely not true. Even the world government themselves said that Shanks is not after conquest. So the idea that he stole that devil fruit for himself, we could throw that out the window. And besides that, the other evil possibility is him giving it to somebody bad, which I think is even more unlikely. If anything, I think the most likely option is that he was keeping it out of bad people's hands like the world government and possibly Blackbeard, because at that point he already had that encounter where he got his scar. But it's also entirely possible that maybe he got that fruit to pass it on to the next generation, because of course that's what ended up happening with Luffy. But also still fully believe that Shanks did not purposely give that fruit to Luffy. This is something I broke down entirely in its own video, so you can check that out right here. But to break down my main points of that video, first off, I think it's very clear that Luffy ate it as an accident. And second of all, as far as why Shanks gave Luffy the straw hat, I think when you reread chapter 1, it's pretty clear that he only really decided that after not only Luffy eating the devil fruits, but after he saw Luffy risk his life to stand up to the bandits for him. And it was really after that point that Shanks took the actions to pass on the straw hat to Luffy, not only purposely sacrificing his arm to showcase the dangers of becoming a pirate to Luffy, but also egging him on and motivating him to have the great dream of surpassing Shanks and becoming the Pirate King. So if Shanks was actually truly trying to pass that fruit to somebody else, I think if anything, it might have been Ace, because that's who I think he was actually looking for in Fuchsia Village, but he ended up meeting Luffy and changing his mind. So that was a bit of a tangent, but those are my general thoughts on why Shanks stole the Gomu Gomu no Mi and passed on the straw hat to Luffy. But from that point on, Shanks has taken a lot more major actions, which gets us to the final question of what exactly are Shanks' goals based off his most recent actions. And this is where I think things get interesting, because one of the main theories here is that Shanks is a pacifist trying to keep the balance in the world. And somehow that has also evolved into this extreme version where Shanks is snitching on Luffy to the world government. But not only do I want to debunk the idea here that Shanks is snitching on Luffy, but I also think we have to question this idea that he's a pacifist. Because sure, if you look at his recent actions, you can view it under the light of he's trying to keep the peace in the world and just maintain the balance. And because he's shown no ambition to become the Pirate King or to rule anything, that could make sense as his goal. But at the same time, I don't really think that Shanks has shown that he cares so much about peace that he wants to maintain the entire balance of the world. And also, I think you can make the argument that all the actions that he's taken is not just for peace, but also to help out Luffy. For example, trying to stop Ace. Shanks knew Ace was Luffy's brother because he met him before. And he also knew what type of person Luffy was, a person that as a little kid stood up to mountain bandits just because they talked trash to Shanks. So as far as trying to stop Ace, he could have just wished the best for Ace and also cared about Luffy, and it didn't have to be this big old thing about keeping the balance in the world. I think stopping Kaido as well, you can kind of apply the same idea, because on one hand, he does stop the war from getting out of hand. On the other hand, if Kaido ended up arriving at Marineford, Luffy would probably be dead. And then finally, there's him actually showing up to Marineford and stopping the war, which I absolutely will say he definitely did not want to see more bloodshed go down. But also at the same time, the first thing that he did when he got there was literally save Luffy's life. Even as he stops Akainu, he says to Kobe that Kobe's actions could have changed the future fate of the world. So although I think Shanks wants to see the peace in the world, I don't think it has to be as extreme as him wanting to maintain the balance of everything. Because I think a lot of the actions that he's taken of maintaining the peace also has a lot of personal motivations of protecting his friends. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because that's something he's shown from chapter 1, that he cares and protects his crewmates and friends. And Luffy is one of those people that he strongly cares about, that he's mentored, that he believes in, that he celebrates about. But yet for some reason, some people have gone the complete other direction, and all of a sudden Shanks is snitching on Luffy just to keep peace. That just feels like it goes against everything we've seen in the story from Shanks, and it's trying to force a twist that doesn't need to happen. Now, of course, we do need to address what exactly Shanks was there with the Gorosei for. I think the easiest answer here could be that he's just talking about Blackbeard and Blackbeard making his next move, but he could be absolutely talking about someone else, maybe even Luffy. But if he's actually talking about Luffy, it would make much more sense for him to say, stay away from Luffy, that's my boy, as opposed to all of a sudden, I need to maintain the balance in the world, so I'm gonna snitch on Luffy. If I end up being wrong on this, I'll absolutely take my L. But as far as evil Shanks goes, where Shanks snitching on Luffy, I think is damn near impossible. But of course, at this point, you're probably wondering, then what exactly are Shanks' goals? If he's not evil, he's not trying to maintain peace, what exactly is he after? And honestly, I think his goals are the same ones that shaped him as a Roger pirate. He's still the same person that loves freedom, adventure, partying, and friends, but he simply just did not have the same dream as Roger and Luffy, or for some reason ended up changing his mind. And if anything, currently his biggest goals are probably just having fun and exploring, helping Luffy as a mentor, and doing some good when he can. I think from everything that we've seen from Shanks so far in this story, that makes the most sense. Of course, there's still a lot of mysteries about him, and things could certainly change. But right now, I think he's just exploring with his crew and cheering for the success of Luffy. And as for what's gonna happen when the two of them finally meet, that's for a different video. And in my hand, I have a One Piece volume between 70 and 75. If you guys are wrong, you have to like, subscribe, and watch the next video. And the answer is 72.